I was recently speaking with a dear friend, and we were talking about the fact that I was going into my third winter in this tiny home. And I can't even believe that is upon us. But here we are. And it made me realize that I never circled back around and told the story about how this whole thing even began. So I've always had a passion and a desire to live tiny and move into a smaller footprint. But as a single mom, I just didn't think that was ever going to be viable for me. And when my son went off to college and COVID hit, it kind of ramped up the fact that I needed to make a decision on what to do next. As with all things, I kind of just surrendered the whole thing to my God squad and said, if this is supposed to happen, I know you guys are going to make it happen. So I give it to you, and I moved on. So during this period, my grandfather, who had just turned 100, had crossed over. And as neither my grandmother or grandfather were wealthy people, I didn't expect anything. But lo and behold, during this time, the doorbell rang. I greet the UPS driver and with a registered letter from my grandfather's attorney with a cashier's check I was not anticipating. It was by no means thousands upon thousands of dollars, but it was something I wasn't anticipating arriving, and there it was. I remember literally falling to the floor in tears, just in complete, utter shock. What a surreal thing to happen. It wasn't about the money. It was about the fact that the God Squad got busy, and it just happened. It literally fell in my lap. You can't make this shit up. So I started to just throw everything to my God Squad from that moment on. And I just said, okay, now what's next? And I carried on. So probably a few days later it was that I was strolling through Facebook, as we do, and I happened upon the most adorable converted travel trailer that had been changed into a tiny home with all the farmhouse style that I would have literally handpicked. I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to afford it because it was the exact amount of the check that my grandfather had sent me, less 1 penny. But I said, I've got to go see this thing. This is no coincidence. So I reached out, contacted the lady who was selling it, and she said, I've had so much interest in the last 10 minutes since I posted this. So if you really want to come see it, you need to come now. I got in my car. I drove like heck fire. And luckily she was only about 20, 30 minutes away with traffic. And I got there and I saw it and I was in love with it. And I said, I want this. But something in me said, be sound, be smart. And I knew it was my grandfather, who I refer to as Grumpy, guiding me from the other side to just be really careful. So I called my mechanic and I said, I found this amazing opportunity. I really would love you to look it over. And he's never around, and he never answers his phone. But he did that day, of course. So he said, I'm actually not that far away. Let me pop over. So he did. And as he was making his way there, 4 or 5 other people had shown up to see this amazing little travel trailer tiny home. So the sweet young lady and her husband said, we've got others here interested. So if you could step out for a minute, we'll let them see it. So I started to get nervous that someone was going to buy it out from underneath me when my mechanic arrived. As I was waiting for my mechanic, however, I was talking to her husband and I said, this is a big thing for me. And I just want you to tell me if you're aware of anything being wrong with the travel trailer. And he said, sure, I'll be absolutely honest with you. My wife and I, as you've met, have a baby. And we just renovated this. We spent all of our time getting it just as we wanted it for our family. And then we found out she's pregnant again. It's too small for us. We've already outgrown it. That's the only reason we're selling. It needs 5 new tires, and I have that scheduled to happen next week. And there was a little bit of water stuff going on the top roof, but I've also repaired all of that. You're welcome to ask your mechanic to check those areas. Sure enough, my mechanic said the same thing without knowing that conversation had happened. And he looked at me and he said, "Kelly, if you don't buy this dang thing, I'm going to buy it myself." That was my ticket to move forward. From there, it just flowed and flowed and flowed. We went right to the title place to switch the licenses. It was 4:30 and they were closing at 5. We walked up. The whole front window was painted with gnomes for the holidays. And gnomes are my thing, as you guys know. Again, you cannot make this shit up. It was another sign. This was perfect. Prior to going to do the title exchange, however, the funniest thing happened because the check that my grandfather had sent was in my account, but I went to get a cashier's check to pay her. And it was a 1 penny difference of what my grandfather had sent. So I just had the lady make the cashier's check out for the exact amount that my grandfather had sent. And when I walked out of the bank, I literally tripped on the sidewalk, and right at my feet was 1 penny. And I could hear my grumpy laughing from the other side. "Why did you overpay? You silly girl. Put that penny away for a rainy day. And you better bet your bottom dollar I still have that penny." Then from there, now I have this amazing thing I'm excited about, but I don't have anywhere to park it. So I reached out on Facebook again and said, "I just bought this. I'm so excited, and I have no idea where I'm going to put it." And literally within 10 minutes, one of my dear followers reached out and said, "My grandmother lives on acreage, not far from here. We really wanted someone to be there just to keep an eye on her and make sure she's okay. She's out there alone with her little dog. I don't know if it's going to work for you guys," she said, "but it can't hurt to reach out." So she gave me her phone number and I called her that day. She said, "Come on over tomorrow." And I did. And immediately the connection was beautiful. She's sweet. She's funny. She's got the cutest little dog. And her house sits away from the area that we determined would work for me. We walked around the property. We said, "I don't know if it'll work with electricity or with sewage or with power, but let's just check it out and see if it's a fit." So I started contacting the various people I needed to have go out to the site. And sure enough, we were able to make it all work. No coincidences at all. Within 3 weeks, this beautiful little tiny home was delivered to that property. I wrapped up my living experience at the suburban house, and Milo and I moved in, and we've not looked back since. Now, granted, I still want a tiny home. I want to build and customize something that is just like this with a few finer details. I don't need a lot of space, but I know I love taking long, hot, deep baths. And I know that I want to have a regular toilet versus a composting toilet. And I also know I'd love to have a washer and dryer unit. And maybe just a little bit of a bigger sitting area that I can actually sit in and utilize a little bit more effectively than what I have right now. There's not much more I would change. This is 25 by 8 feet. I have an adorable little shed for all my extras. I love clothes, I love shoes, and I love decorating for the holidays. And I'm able to do that. I just don't know what else I could need. This way of living has opened me up to nature in a way I never thought possible. I connect with the animals. The neighbors call me Snow White. I hand feed some. Others I just watch from afar. And Milo and I are happier than we've ever been. I can't imagine living any other way. This has also allowed me the freedom to outfit my SUV, to take little trips, to get on the road, to go and explore, just like I would if I had a Sprinter van, which, by the way, that's coming. The God Squad's working on it. So I don't know what else to say except this all unfolded. I didn't need to do anything except trust and have absolute faith. And you bet your bottom dollar there were moments of absolute terror and fear. But there was bigger balls of faith going on here, just firing through every cell of my body. And it said, just let go. Breathe and don't resist. The rest is coming. Stay open. And that's the way I live now. It feels more authentic to me than any other way of living. Absolutely, I've gone through empty nest syndrome. Some say I'm going through a midlife crisis. If that's the case, bring it on. I love what I'm going through. I wouldn't change a thing. So I really think I had to lose my mind completely to be fully in my heart. And I really do think that's what's happened. But I don't want to find the mind ever again. And I'm not worried about that. I cherish every moment on this property and every moment in this tiny home. I guess I just want to say, keep faith. If there's something in your heart, something you feel so strongly about, don't let anyone intervene in your dream. Don't let anyone intervene in your thinking. Invite your God Squad in, surrender it to them, and then move on with your life. Keep walking. Keep moving. It's coming. It's already on its way. Much love. Until next time.